Welcome to the presentation on Social History of England, Paper 2. In this presentation, we are going to see a single topic, that is Tudor and Stuart monarchies. So the dynasties of Tudor as well as Stuart monarchies. The word Tudor comes from Welsh family, which means a leader or a ruler. So from that originated an array of kings. So we are going to see each king and the characteristics of England, how it was gained importance during the Tudor monarchy. So to begin with the characteristics of Tudor dynasty, the Tudor dynasty transformed England from medieval to the modern age. Of course, we all know old, medieval, modern, post-modern. So from the medieval to the modern, so this Tudor dynasty started the marking the transformation of that. And this is characterized through strong centralized monarchy followed by Protestant Reformation and Renaissance cultural growth. Right from the beginning, people of England sternly believed that king is the representative of God on earth. So they had an high opinion about monarchy rule. But in between, in this era only, the challenges of opposition, parliamentarians and all the other kinds of threats they faced from the public. So it's really challenging how the Tudor monarchs manage all the situations of this social England we are going to see. So the two dynasties that shaped the destiny through religious revolution and transformed the monarchical power. First Tudor of this Tudor dynasty. So the Wars of Roses. So first one, the Wars of Roses. So what is this Wars of Roses? So the noble people among themselves, for example, the Lancashires as well as Yorkists. So together they had a clash. So it was a civil clash. So that was brought to an end in the Battle of Bolesworth in 1485. So followed by Henry VII. After concluding the battle there at Bolesworth, Henry VII established a dynasty. He is the first Tudor monarch of this time, and he established a house of Tudor, uniting warring factions and strategic marriage, and through shrewd diplomacy bringing much needed stability to the realm. So in this Henry VII reign, so we are able to see that he had firm belief in monarchy, and he did not allow the power to be shared between any of the parliamentarians. So followed by Henry VII, so his own son, that is Henry VIII, became the ruler of England. So he is the second Tudor monarch. So he was not so very soft like his father. So he had consecutively 6 marriages he underwent just for a male legal head. Okay, so he wanted to have a son. So because he couldn't have a son, so consecutively married 6 times. So next time that he wanted to marry Anne Boleyn. Okay, Anne Boleyn, so the Queen of Carthage, okay, the wife that he had, but he wanted to marry Anne Boleyn. So though king had the full supreme power in the country, they equally powerful is the Pope of the country. So religious head was Pope and country's political head was the king. So he has to seek the permission from Pope, obviously. So when Pope Clement VII, so when he approached him for this proposal of giving a divorce and getting remarried, that was totally rejected. So he was very disappointed being a king. So you have rejected my appeal for a remarriage. So henceforth, I will not give you any authority in my kingdom. So thereby, simultaneously at that time in Germany, a revolution was erupted. So by who? Martin Luther. So with the points of 95 theses, he just shut the door of the church and he was gathering people to protest against the existing corruptions existed in Catholics, Roman Catholics, the religious denomination. So that popularity, so that he wanted to draw it here. So now he wanted to shun the power of the Catholics and wanted to introduce this Protestantism into this England. So at that time he established the art of supremacy. So in the year 1534, so he said more than the Pope, king is the supreme head of the country, political head, social head, religious head, all the powers he can execute and he can comment through. So this English Reformation laid a milestone in England, thereby so many reformations. Because of this, all the nunneries were closed and all the funds that they had were confiscated by the England government. So thereby he laid a stamp over there through the act of supremacy. So Henry VIII was a very powerful king. So because of the personal reasons, he brought in religious reformation into England. So he was followed by Edward VI. So his tenure ranges from 1547 to 1553. He was Henry's son, and he just ruled when he became the king. He was just 9 years old. His brief Protestant reign saw further religious reform, but he died at 16 because of illness. So the reforms brought in by his father Henry VIII. So he revised everything, including the prayer book, art of worship. So a new denomination called Anglican Arminianism was introduced into England. So that was continued by his son Edward VI. But he had a very short tenure and he passed away. So we have Lady Jane Grey, who just proclaimed as a queen just for 9 days. So she was followed by Mary I from 1553 to 1558. So what's special about this Mary I? Till for the previous two monarchs supported the Protestantism and they shunned the power of the Catholics. Nowhere in England we need the rule of the power of the Pope. So we just want our own worship. So they named it as England Church, Church of England, Anglican worship. So at that time, she came to the power and she wanted to restore everything that was in existence before the Protestants came. So once again the prayer book was revised, what Henry VIII introduced, so what Edward VI introduced, everything was revamped and she wanted to bring back and restore the Catholicism again. So she is known as Bloody Queen. So why? Because her hands were stained with the blood of so many Protestants she has killed for this cause of religious protestation. So people were scared at her. So followed by Mary I, Elizabeth I became the Queen of England. So her period is acclaimed as the golden age of England. So why? Because she is not just one queen. So in her tenure, every prospects of Indian, that is England, had a prosperity. So in literature, so in colonization, so in finding out discovering new sea trade routes. So in uplifting the economy, everywhere she flourished. So she tried to, unlike the previous monarchs, so she was not very biased either with the Catholics or with the Protestants. But here she tried to balance, so that was her strength. So she was the longest reigning Tudor. So nearly for more than 40 years she has been ruling there in England. And her reign witnessed an extraordinary cultural renaissance, rebirth in everything. So it was her tenure. So the supreme playwrights of English literature, Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, all the university works existed in her period only. Naval power, England's naval strength under the command of culminating the defeat of Spanish Armada in the year 1588. So took place in her tenure. So she died childless in the year 1603, ending the Tudor dynasty. So she was the last queen of Tudor dynasty, followed by Stuart dynasty came into existence. So the word Stuart comes from Scotland. Okay, a ruler of Scotland comes and annexes England, and together he serves as the monarch for both the countries together. So the Stuart dynasty ranges from 1603 to 1714. So it was an era once again marked by religious unrest as well as settlements between parliamentarians, monarchs. So slowly the Whigs and Tories, parliamentarians were uplifting in England and the power of the royal authority was crushing down. So first ruler of the Stuart monarch, so we are going to see James the Sixth. So James VI of Scotland assumes himself under the name James the First, and he starts ruling England and Scotland together. So he inherited the throne and became James the First, started his rule. So thereby he brought England and Scotland and together as one single kingdom. So this period was a period of intense religious tension, we could say. So followed by that ruler, we have Charles the First. In his period, the civil war erupted. So divine rights, Charles first firmly believed in the divine rights of the king. That is, the king is the representative of God on earth. So and all should oblige to him. So that divine theory he could he acknowledged. So parliamentary resistance. So So Parliament grew increasingly frustrated with Charles' arbitrary rule, taxation without consent. So in this time, because of more taxation, people did not like, and there were many civil wars came into existence. 1642, so regicide took place. So he was killed. Though being a king, he was killed. So against this rivalry, after this Charles the First, when he was executed, so Oliver Cromwell, okay, the autocratic ruler, under the support of the parliamentarians, came into existence. So he ruled. So this was a very stern period where all the theatres were shunned, no kind of entertainment, fully you need to be divine, and Puritans liked this period very much. So it was an age of Puritans. So Oliver Cromwell ruled this England during this period, 1649 to 1653. So after this Oliver Cromwell's tenure, so the Restoration period, 1660, Charles II was restored to English throne. So when Charles II was restored to the throne, once again that period is called as Restoration period. Why? Because all the theatres which were shut was open. People resumed their life like previously. So they had the normal religious settlements. So of course, with reference to political, so you will have the upcoming of the Whigs and Tories. So they wanted their representatives over there, and slowly constitutional monarchy was set up, whereby the royal power was less and the parliamentarians' authority was growing to more. So finally, just to conclude, let us have a look at the comparison between the Tudors and the Stuarts. So the Tudors forged a strong English national identity through military victories and cultural achievement. The Stuart dynasty came to an end. We cannot just forget that with Queen Anne's rule. How Elizabeth I was the last ruler of Tudor dynasty. Queen Anne was the last Stuart monarch. Okay, she ruled there. So then, in drawing the comparison, so Tudors initiated the English Reformation, breaking of Rome and establishing the Church of England. It happened in the period of Tudor monarch. So centralized the royal power, established the supremacy of monarchy and religious authority. So that credit goes to the Tudors. So they created a golden age for exploration, literature and naval power under the headship of Elizabeth I. So whereas the Stuarts, so they navigated complex religious political tensions, and in this period they challenged the civil war, Spanish Armada, glorious revolution, so the Great Fire, everything they just successfully championed. So created Great Britain through the Act of Union and reshaping the British Isles. So it was in the period of Queen and that Treaty of Utrecht and the Act of Union, that is bringing UK and Scotland under the name of United Kingdom, annexing England and Scotland together. Everything came to an end. So in this presentation, we could see that how in the history, social history of England, so the line of Tudor monarchy and the line of kings of Stuart monarchy laid their stamp for the progress from medieval to modern England. Thank you.